Hey folks, I'm Andrea and this is the Capitalism for Good podcast. This is 100 interviews with business leaders making a positive difference in their community. I am not a journalist. I am not a seasoned creator. I'm also not a professional podcaster. I am a small business owner who's looking to learn from those who have founded, grown, led, and scaled companies while keeping their values front and center. I'm looking for those who've managed to keep their soul intact while they did all of those things. I'm looking for folks who've done things the right ways so that I can follow in the footsteps of them and learn from them in real time. I am also a customer looking to make intentional decisions about how I spend my money. So I'm recording these conversations here in the Capitalism for Good podcast project. So if you are interested in any of those same things, you can learn right along with me. One quick note, there are ads in the free version that support the production of the podcast. There is an ad-free version as well as early releases and an exclusive Between the Interviews podcast series over at patreon.com/capitalismforgood. We also donate 10% of all of the Patreon dollars to a monthly rotating charity of choice. Folks, today we have here Katie Schmidt. She is the founder of Passion Lillie. It is a fair trade apparel brand that is really leveraging their brand to advocate for fair trade and to push the industry in a more socially responsible and sustainable direction. She talks a lot about fair trade today and how that's become a large priority in her decision-making and operating process. There are links to the Fair Trade Federation as well as Passion Lillie in the show notes and in the company mentions page. She also gives a well-deserved and timely shout out to Joy McBrien, the founder of Fair Anita, a jewelry and accessory brand who also has a strong Fair Trade Federation foundation and is based in Minnesota. So we've added links to check out and support Fair Anita as well in the show notes and company mentions page. Today, Katie talks about how Passion Lillie started, how the industry changed over time, and the impact that the Fair Trade Federation has had on herself and her business over the past 13 years. We talk about challenges, we talk about being adaptable, but we also talk about how advocacy through community contributes to positive change. And with that, I will let her take over. Enjoy. Kind of an overview of your journey and what led you to start Passion Lillie and all of, like, the values and everything that go into your company.
I started Passion Lillie in 2013. My background is in costume design, and then I went on and I got a master's in luxury and fashion management, but I ended up focusing on triple bottom line businesses. And I didn't think I was going to start my own company, but after working a little bit in this, I worked for a fair trade store. I had the opportunity to go to India, and I really got to see firsthand how beautiful the traditional crafts are, like hand block printing and ikat weaving. And I also got to see the importance of paying a fair wage in a safe working environment, especially for communities that are underserved. At the time, I specifically was visiting women who were doing hand embroidery work in their homes. And although that's not what Passion Lillie currently does, we don't do hand embroidery, but I got to see how important this is, and it gives them a job that they may not normally have the opportunity to have, and it helps them to provide for their families and uplift their families. So I came back to New Orleans and I tried to figure out how I could create more jobs like this, and using these techniques and using my background in costume design and the knowledge that I had. And that's how I got started. And so I wanted to start my company, and we are still with the values of being a fair trade company, putting first people and the planet.
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like in those early days when you were starting, prioritizing those values in contrast to like what the lay of the land was with kind of the industry norm at the time?
So 10 years ago, the fair trade industry and sustainable industry was much smaller, which was actually kind of a good thing because there wasn't as much greenwashing, I feel like, going on.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a need for, and that's why I started my company. I felt like there was a need for more companies that were fair trade, had fair prices. Obviously, they're not going to be cheap, but fair prices, good designs, and things that are in beautiful colors, bright colors, not just solids. The challenges, and at the beginning, I came at it with so much passion, like anybody should. So there were all the normal challenges that one faces in starting a company of capital and just getting making traction and getting orders and all those kinds of things. But I was very determined. And of course, unlike other companies, there was this huge barrier of working with artisans in India. And how do you build that relationship and all of the little things that could go wrong along the way? So there were definitely a lot of mistakes that I made and I learned from in terms of just communicating and design and also as somebody that was new, I had a lot of design experience, but new to this type of setting, I learned a lot. Looking back, I feel like the last 5 years, there's been a lot more challenges in terms of what's going on in the world. First we had COVID, which actually we made it through surprisingly well. And then we've had the last couple of years, we've had tariffs, or last year, I should say, tariffs that just keep going up. And there's so much uncertainty. Everything is rising in costs. And we've experienced that in India from the beginning. India is, with their economy, every year wages go up incrementally. But in the US, wages are not going up incrementally. And most recently, people are definitely struggling. We feel the struggle financially. I was just talking to somebody who works at a retail boutique, and she was saying, customers would come in, they would try on your pieces, and they might buy 3 at a time. Now they come in and they buy 1 at a time. So there's definitely something going on. And I think if you ask a lot of other brands, they would feel the same way. We're pushing through and we're making it, but it feels more challenging. Perhaps in 10 years from now, I'll look back and I won't feel that way, but I feel challenged right now.
I was thinking while you were talking about that, do you think that part of that pressure or change, especially from the customer base, from buying 3 things to 1 thing? I mean, there's like an idealist rose-colored glasses of maybe people are just being more intentional with their spending. I don't know that I buy into that is kind of the largest trend right now. I wonder if it is more of the fast fashion cheap prices of, well, I can buy this for $5 or $10, or I could buy something similar that's not made with the same qualities and values and intention for $10 versus something that will naturally, because of all of the things that are going into it and all considerations, be a little more pricey.
That's a good question. I really don't know the answer.
Yeah, it's hard.
There is definitely an influence of fast fashion on individuals and changing their spending, and more so recently changing what they're buying. I do see that even we have a retail shop, and I do see that even people are gravitating towards lower priced items. But again, I don't know if that is a matter of what they can afford, or it's a really good question.
Have you noticed a change in what your customer base is looking for over the time? Kind of separate from what can they afford and what are they actually purchasing in the volume, but what are they looking for? I would imagine, well, from my perspective, what brought me to you was the values and looking for something that's fair trade, that's intentional and mindful about the materials that are used. Does that seem to be the drive, or is it really like the designs forward, the quality forward, and then the other pieces in the back end of the company are kind of like the bonus of like, all right, well, that's great. We were able to do it in a way that kind of lines up with what we were going for.
That's a good question. I always say that if you don't have a good product in terms of quality and beauty and design, it doesn't matter what the values are. And I believe that is true. And we've done some research on this with our company as well. And that is true for us as well. Our customers, first and foremost, come to us primarily. There are that small percentage that's all they want. They're going to directly go for fair trade. But primarily, they're coming to us because they see something that they like. And then they're going to do the research and not all customers are going to do the research, of course. Some are just, I like it, I want it. And then maybe half or less are going to do the research and understand. I would say a very small percentage are going to do the deep dive research and figure out what we're about. We put our values very front and center. So customers don't have to do a lot of research. But about half of them will say, oh, okay, it's also fair trade, or it's a women-owned company, or they're natural fibers. I'm even more inclined to make this purchase now.
Do you find that because there are that set of customers that are focused specifically on those values, that things like the certifications or highlighting that you are a woman-owned business or any of those kinds of things that are core to who you all are as a company is important to be like, we gotta put this right front and center so that you can double check if you're the double checking kind of person. Like, here it is, we've jumped through all of the hoops to confirm that we're putting our money where our mouth is here.
Yes, definitely. And Passion Lillie is actually rated great with Good On You. So we get a lot of business from the Good On You app. They go through and they vet different brands, and that really helps us out a lot. We're also a Fair Trade Federation member too. And our manufacturing unit in India is Fair Trade certified. So definitely those help. And if I was I am a customer of Fair Trade products myself too. And I do feel like it's very helpful when I'm going to research a brand to see those certifications. Also, I will add note that not all brands can afford those certifications. So there are other things that we can look for as well.
I will note that the rating on Good On You is what kind of pushed you all over the finish line for me to reach out. I can't remember where I originally found you in my deep dive looking specifically for clothing manufacturers and brands. And then I double checked on Good On You and saw that. And I was like, all right, sold.
Nice.
Can you talk a little bit about like internally how you are running your company and the values and kind of the foundation internally in relation to your employees and the relationship you have with your partners and those kinds of things? Because again, I think it's so great. Founders have these wonderful ideas and they're really driven by their passion, but also you need a team in place. Being a small business owner, when you're first starting out, you're wearing all of the hats and you're doing all of the things, but then great news, you grow and you scale and you've got to have some other people that come in that can take some of that load off and run with it for you. And what has been your experience and kind of your philosophy in fostering that internal culture within your team?
So we follow the Fair Trade Federation, their principles, and that has really helped us out a lot. We actually have to once a year renew our membership, and they ask us a bunch of questions, which kind of helps me it's like almost like a workshop on rethinking, where we are. And they're not the same questions every single year. So with that, following those set of standards with our team in India, first and foremost, before we even start working with a group, and we've been working with the same groups for almost a decade now, we talk about these principles and we make sure that they're following these principles as well too. In terms of our team in India, the same goes forward. When somebody's hired, before they're even hired in an interview process, we talk about the company and what it means. And when they're hired, again, we talk about these principles and what they mean. And it's really important for them to understand them. We have a very small team in India. So we have 2 part-time people that work doing sales and then another part-time person that works doing marketing. And obviously the marketing and content, she's very aware of everything, and because she has done a lot of our research on our blogs and Instagram content, so she's very versed on all of those things. But she had to research and learn all about it. And then our salespeople also have to research and learn what we're about and uphold those values, because they are the front-facing people that are talking to our customers and sharing part of our mission. Because part of our mission is to not only be a fair trade company, but to advocate for fair trade. So, for example, in New Orleans, when we started over 10 years ago, I would go to markets, and I'm a lot of times the person that people are seeing at markets. And I would say, I do all the designing. This is a fair trade company. And people, their faces would just be like, what is fair trade? And so we would talk about it, have conversations about it. And now, not just thanks to me, but thanks to the fair trade industry, people talking about sustainability and how important that is, more and more people understand it. And I've actually had people, before I can even give my spiel, they're asking me, the questions that they should be asking. So it's really great to see how much awareness has grown over the last 10 years. And that's just what we love to see.
I love that you are the one personally hands-on at the market a lot of times, and also being like, these are the designs that came from my brain. These are the values. Like it is like everything within your core, in your being. When you first started out, was that your intention of like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna use my creative creative skills and my background and my education, but to really like dig a little bit deeper and make a little bit of a change? Or did the advocacy piece come a little bit later?
50-50. So I started out, like I say, it was very important to be a fair trade company. I didn't realize, I think that piece of being an advocate for fair trade came through my education with the Fair Trade Federation and how important it is to talk about it. I mean, basic marketing, you're going to talk about your company and who they are, but to really advocate for it, that came through my working with the Fair Trade Federation, I would say.
Do you have a sense of how that's connected to also having your name and your brand in retail locations all over the country, and having, you've got this great presence in New Orleans, anywhere that you are where you can be face to face and kind of talk to people about your values and the things that are important and how we can push the industry in a really great way, but also having a name and a presence in places where you aren't. Can you talk a little bit about like what that means to continue to push the industry, whether or not it's something where you're still front facing?
We work with retail shops. We sell wholesale, and we work with retail shops throughout the US. And well, I would say a small percentage, but a pretty good percentage of our wholesale orders are from fair trade retail stores that are specifically fair trade stores. And they are the ones doing the advocacy. They may or not be advocating for Passion Lillie, which is fine because they should be advocating for their own store, but they are 100% definitely advocating for fair trade. And we support them with that by providing marketing materials like little 5x7 cards that say what we're about and what we do and why fair trade is important. And we make sure to make that marketing material something that isn't really, I mean, it has pictures of Passion Lillie products, but it's not very Passion Lillie specific because they will have other fair trade products in their store. And I know many other fair trade brands that are doing the same thing. And the Fair Trade Federation does really work with Fair Trade Federation being the organization as well as all the members. They all work together to help provide this literature and this advocacy.
I love that so much. What you're describing almost seems like this like community of both the retail shops, you as a wholesaler or a manufacturer in that position, like all working together. I'm a huge advocate for strength in numbers. And if we just put all of our skills and our talents together, we're going to be able to do so much more.
Yeah.
Do you feel that as someone who's a part of it there?
Yes. I love the Fair Trade Federation. In fact, I just got asked to be a nominee to be, they have to vote it in. So I don't know, I might not get it, but to be a nominee for a board member. And they have, it's you're on the board for like a year, I think. And they change it up every so often. So there have been a lot of other people that have been on the board, and I would be honored to be in that position. It does require some work, but I would be honored to be in it because I fully believe in what the Fair Trade Federation is doing. And they're a very accessible organization in terms of you don't have to be this big company to be in it. You don't have to be, even if you're just brand new to fair trade and you don't really understand it, you can still participate and learn and grow from it. So in that sense, I think it's a great community.
I love that so much. When you have been kind of throughout this, trying to do fast math here, 13 years of existence here, have you hit any really big pitfalls or hurdles or pivot points where you're like, oh, that's not working out the way that we thought it would? And kind of tying that to advice for other people who are specifically first starting out in whatever their kind of values-based business might be.
Yeah. So I mentioned COVID, but that was every business experienced that. And we worked through it through selling masks, making and selling masks. And we were able to raise money and partially support our artisans in India while they did not have work. But I would say, and I just actually kind of thought about this as you asked this question, a few years into our business, we switched manufacturing, the people that do our sewing, which is not something our mission is to build relationships.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of quality issues. And it was a very hard decision to make because, again, that kind of goes against our mission. But if we can't make good products, we can't have a sustainable company. We don't have unhappy customers. Like it's a snowball effect. So I did a bunch of research and I found another company to work with who I still work with now. So I was actually just looking back the other day at our emails to figure out when we started working together. I think it's been since 2017 or something like that. So it's been quite a while and it's been a great relationship and it was a great decision that I made, and they are fair trade certified. We don't have the quality issues. So my advice is that sometimes you have to make really hard decisions, and sustainability is not a yes or no. It's not a straight line, and you have to figure out kind of like weighing out the pros and cons in terms of sustainability and what's going to be best for your business.
I find that to be such a powerful and important point, that sustainability is not a yes or no. And again, maybe I'm just thinking of this from my own perspective of someone who is immensely driven by their values, kind of like to their core. And sometimes I have to remind myself, the world is a little gray. And there isn't just one way to do things. And when you were talking specifically about COVID, starting to make masks and finding different ways to raise money for folks in India or different parts of your kind of network there. And there's a piece of, in my perspective, adaptability and kind of that ability to pivot while still sticking true to your core there, but also being able to turn it all. I'm curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, I would say that's absolutely right.
I just feel like that was a little bit of a light bulb moment for me of oh yeah, okay, remember, you got to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question that I have for you that I ask for everyone is, who is another business and or leader that you see out there in the world that's doing things the right way? And it could be someone that you are a customer of, an employee of yours, a partner, a mentor, absolutely anyone that you think deserves a shout out.
There are a lot of great people and brands out there. One person and I have specifically been thinking about them recently because they are in Minnesota, but that I think is doing a great job, is a brand named Fair Anita. And she started her business, I think, around the same time I did. And she has so much passion and drive. They have primarily jewelry, but accessories and kind of a little bit of everything within the accessory and gift world. And she's also been a board member with the Fair Trade Federation and just a really great asset for the Fair Trade Federation, just doing really great things.
Oh, that shout out Fair Anita, especially in these times when
Joy is the woman who runs the organization.
Joy. Shout out to Joy. Great job. I'll make sure that we tag them so that folks can check them out, especially right now while they're looking for ways to support the folks specifically in Minnesota, if not all over here. And also make sure that we'll tag Passion Lillie and all the things that you were working on. And Katie, I just can't thank you enough for doing this. I love talking to folks like you and the little light bulb moments that kind of come in real time for me. And I'm excited for everyone to get to hear this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.